Is Retatrutide safe? Now, this is a great question because what if it isn't? What if the clinical studies that we're seeing, maybe there's some misleading claims, but actually outside of that, there's another thing that we need to discuss. I think this is actually very valid. I know some of you aren't going to like it, but we need to talk about Retatrutide from research use only facilities because that could also be danger. And by the way, I think Retatrutide has enormous benefits. It's not available to the public yet, but the research is looking very compelling. But the big danger we have, just like any other drug that the pharmaceutical companies have promoted and produced, is the dosing. The dose can be the poison. So let's jump in, find out if this molecule is safe. So I'm Regan Archibald. I'm the founder of Ageless Future. I love the fact that you're here because you're somebody who cares about your future and your health. I think health is more contagious than disease. So the more that you optimize your own health, the more you influence people around you. I have been fascinated with health optimization. I found peptides just create that leverage point to allow me to achieve my goals quicker. And I've seen that in thousands of people that we've worked with over the last 20 years. And so let's jump in. So is it safe? Well, let me give you some evidence. So right now, Eli Lilly just produced the phenomenal, breathtaking results of their Triumph 4 study. And one of the things they're looking at in the Triumph 4 is they said, does Retatrutide work for obesity and will it help improve knee pain with individuals who have osteoarthritis? And so we've known that the GLP-1 pathway, it turns off some of that COX-2 inhibition. So there's actually some very good evidence around even tirzepatide with having a diminishing arthritic response. It's cleaning up the metabolic system. I think arthritis, if you think about it more globally and holistically, there's internal imbalances that are triggering that inflammation, and that internal imbalance usually goes right back to metabolic dysfunction. That could be blood sugar dysregulation. It could also be a dysregulation in the liver. What they found is that over 70% of people in the Triumph study had a reduction and in some cases a complete remission of any pain in osteoarthritic knees. That's phenomenal. They also found that there's 28% loss of body weight, roughly 71 pounds in this study, in the Triumph 4 study. So, but here's the caveat, and here's the risk, is it's safe, but up to a certain level. So these overwhelming results also had about 20% of people who had issues with this condition with their skin, where their skin started to feel these crazy sensations. That was a new side effect that had never been shown. Once again, this is the higher dose. When you titrate the dose down, the side effects go down as well. The second thing that they found, that nearly 43% of people had nausea at the higher dose. The higher dose led to greater results, but there is a massive issue with nausea. 43% is too much. And then you see that there's about 33% of people who had diarrhea. And so we see that it's the dosing is where, is it safe? Is it not safe? And this is one of the problems in the medical system today, is that yes, we have these beautiful innovations that are coming out. In large part, you're paying for these innovations because through the NIH, taxpayer organization, and within the government, we're paying for these research projects to be done. The pharmaceutical companies do pick up some of that research. They can promote drugs through it. Retatrutide seems to be an Eli Lilly specific innovation, so I'm really happy that they did that. But the problem is the dosing, if it gets too high, the safety profile also starts to drop. And I don't want to risk my future health, and I know you probably don't want to risk yours. And so how do you mitigate that? Well, if you just look at the data, when this drug comes out, which is next year, there's going to be enormous benefits from it. But the thing that you want to do is make sure that you're not just part of this system. Because what the pharmaceutical companies want to do is they want to scale the amount of drugs that they can get to as many people as possible. And as long as they can keep you on them, that's what they're looking for. They're really looking for the innovations that lead to long-term profitability. And Retatrutide will be a blockbuster. I mean, the research is phenomenal, but I don't want you to risk your health and your safety. The other side of the equation is getting Retatrutide from these research use only facilities. Some of these places, there's varying degrees of safety, but you do want to be very cautious because they do not have the same regulations. If you're working either with the pharmaceutical drugs, and by the way, Retatrutide or any of the GLP-1s or any medications that has been made, there are recalls. There are times where things can get contaminated even within these highly regulated pharmaceutical facilities, these licensed facilities that process the drugs in their sterile room. And then you go and you say, okay, well, with the research use only, yes, they have documentation that shows the purity, but that documentation, there's no third party to validate it. And so this is where it's really important. If there is a third party, you want to look in deeper to that, because I understand the need to having access to these life-saving and life-changing molecules, but you just want to do it in the right way. And there's this third place where I found is the sweet spot, which is through 503A and 503B licensed compounding pharmacies. This is where your doctor or your prescriber, whoever you're working with, they can use these pharmacies to dose things appropriately. So when Retatrutide or Retatrutide is ready, it's available, what you can do is now ideally get it compounded through a pharmacy. And the problem when you have a patent on these medications is Eli Lilly will have kind of a, they're going to have a monopoly over it. But there are ways of getting compounds where you're making them unique enough to the human body, where there's a structure in place in the medical system where both parties win, where you, the patient, which is, in my opinion, this should be the number one priority, you, the patient, can safely access these molecules, these peptides, but you're doing it through a licensed facility, a 503A or 503B compounding pharmacy, but it is prescribed specifically to you, the patient. Now that's, in my opinion, the safest route to go, and that's what we've done at Ageless Future, because we found that by following some of the pharmaceutical guidelines, your doctors need to follow the protocol that the studies show, but those protocols are not customized at all. Your biology is going to be different than 300 plus people that were in the recent study or previous studies. Your biology is going to respond differently based on what's going on in your personal life, what's going on in your gut, what you've recently been exposed to. So customization and personalization of medicine, especially now with AI, it's just accelerating. And the more data, the more diagnostics that you have, the easier it is to tailor and customize those therapies so that you can have the best possible outcome. And if you're somebody who's looking to go deep and get ready for this big breakthrough in medicine and to actually get on the right things that your body needs and really start hearing the signal through the noise in the peptide space, all you need to do is go to agelessfuture.com. One of our health ascension specialists, they're going to help you get the right labs so that our medical team can get the right orders for you and help you get on your pathway to feeling, looking, and performing your best. Thanks for being here. I'll see you on the next video.